I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, people? How you doing? It's a great day. Oh my gosh. Okay, so listen, I don't know. All I have to say is I don't know because I'm really like second guessing myself now. Am I really a salesperson? I don't.
Well, you were a kid, right?
I was a kid. So wait,
Right.
wait,
And kids are
wait.
probably the greatest. Kids are probably the greatest salespeople in the world.
That's
We're
John,
always,
guys. I'm
huh?
sorry. I didn't get a chance to introduce you.
Oh,
John, Mr. Fabino.
Fabiano.
Fabiano.
Yeah,
Ah,
it used to be Smith. We got
Italian.
it changed.
Italian.
Yes, Italian
Yeah.
and Irish and French.
Oh my gosh. You're like me. You're just mixed up. It's okay. We're unique.
Yeah, and the older I get, the more mixed up I become. I know.
But there was one thing you were going to say, John. Go right ahead.
What's that?
Well, I said I didn't know if I was a salesperson or not. And you said kids.
No,
And
no, you were. Yeah, no. Kids are the best salespeople in the world because they're always asking why, and they never know what they're going to get until they ask. So you don't know what's going to happen unless you ask, and kids keep on asking why, and they're persistent. So that's pretty good. So there's a lesson to be learned there
wow.
from that, and you don't really want to forget that, but you also need to maintain a little bit of youthfulness when
Yeah.
you're doing that. You don't really want to be trying to do business with Methuselah or somebody like that. You want to have somebody that's got some life in them, you know, some verve in them, somebody that can read the person they're opposite and connect,
Yeah.
and that's what's going to make the difference.
Mm,
I have a saying in the very beginning that I advise salespeople to use as a mantra, which is to listen, question, keep it simple, and make it yours. And questioning is a very good skill for a salesperson to have, but you need to understand what you're going to question about. So that's why I put listening first. And salespeople have to be very, very good listeners because the seasoned salesperson will tell you that your prospect will tell you eventually how to sell them if you just pay attention to what they're saying to you. Yeah, that's right. It's a simple thing. And it'll also tell you right away if you're listening that you're wasting your time. And the only currency that a salesperson really has to spend is time. So you want to put it in the right places. I mean, I work with some people that would spend so much time chasing things that were just not going to be productive just so they said that they had something that they were doing. No, no, you want to focus on it. I mean, when you stand in front of a microphone in a studio, right? What are you focused on?
the
Right?
music.
You're focused on the music. You're focused on the key. You're focused on the note, right? Is that what? Is that an 18th or a 12th? No, wait a minute. How do I do this? So that's the same thing with a salesperson. What I say here is that the top salespeople are there for a reason, just for the reason that they have turned what they had to say into something that they can use to close business, to provide customers with what they're really looking for, you know. And being yourself is probably the hardest part of this because you're faced with a stranger or somebody else, and a rookie salesperson is going to spend time scanning the room and saying, "Oh, did you catch that fish in Cabo San Rico?" No, 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 no. That's old. That's past. We don't do that. You want to sit there and say, "Well, here I am. I'm happy to see you. I'm very pleased." Blah blah blah, with the cordialities, and then move forward with the whole plan, which you pretty much have established a schedule or an agenda before you actually showed up there. So when I get there, I'd like you to tell me what is your concern? What is it that you're interested in? So I can provide you the best solution and the best answers in the least amount of your time because we know that your time is worth something. hmm So we do that.
Yeah, I
But
tell people too, you're not spending money, you're not spending anything, you're spending time. Time is something that you can't get back.
no,
So yeah,
uh-uh.
that's amazing.
Yeah. And the thing about this is where did it come from? I spent 20 years working for a global communications company in their distribution division. So it was my responsibility to visit the distributors and keep them informed and encourage them to sell our products. I had every state in the union. I've been to every state in the union. I've been to every major city in the union, and I am eminently qualified. Don't sound like I'm bragging here to talk about sales because I've worked with so many different sales organizations. And when you really find out what's happening in sales, when I wrote the book in 73, you realize that it's not in such good shape. They've been doing the same things over and over again, and they haven't really focused in on what the reality of the century. I say in the beginning of the book that sales is not a battle, it's not a competition, it's not anything like that. Because for me, if you go into it like that, yeah, am I saying that right? Yeah. Okay. If you go into it like that, then you're assuming that there's going to be a winner and a loser. Do you really want your new customer to be a loser? I mean, you have enough confidence in yourself that winning is not huge, but making sure that the customer gets what they want. So that's the situation. You have to be altruistic about this. You have to understand what this person wants, and with them you basically combine and come up with the best solution that they need. In communications, it was easy because there were so many different applications to do. This guy says, well, we're just getting really bigger and we're getting all these calls coming in, and we're really having a hard time handling it and managing it. Yeah, 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 yeah. I said, well, okay, we've got some automatic call center products that you might be interested in. So let's talk a little bit more about what your needs are, and let's talk a little bit more about what we can give you. And that's it. The issue that you first find out when you start going out and working with distributors to get them to sell your products is that it's one thing to teach them the product, but do they know how to sell? And I spent a lot of time teaching people how to sell what was called capital sales, big dollar stuff, and complicated computerized programs and so forth like that. Not that I'm any kind of computer geek. I mean, I just, I knew the applications. They used to call it back in the 80s, it was features. You could buy features that would prevent people from dialing certain numbers. You would provide features that allow, secretaries to forward different things like that. It's called a feature, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and you would sort of hardwire phone lines into phones to set up like a call distribution center. And now, it's all based on, how much time do you have? How much time do you want that individual on the phone? How frequently are you going to be on hold? There's a whole bunch of statistics that are going to help you manage those people to get them to do a better job. And oh heck, actually, I mean, I'm meeting people in every state in the union was pretty fun. And from another side, that made you really want to keep on doing it. And the company I worked for, if you succeeded your numbers by a certain percentage, then you went to something called President's Club, which was a week, all expenses paid, for a nice hotel in Hawaii.
Nice.
Very nice. And you worked really hard to get that because there also was prestige into doing that. And it was a great party. And you had an opportunity to meet all the people from Mahogany Row. And I'm pleased to say that I made every one that I was eligible for, Yeah. I don't know why I had all of these plaques. We used to call it lumber. You'd get lumber as a reward, it was a plaque and something like that. I used to have all of these plaques on my office, and then finally I just sort of said, yeah, well, that was then, this is now. So they, I made sure they disappeared. So we do that, but it's important to do that. And there's a message in here too for management, which is, you tell your salespeople to love on their customers. But as a sales manager, you got to remember you got to love on your salespeople if you want to get the best results out of them. Okay, flies, vinegar, that kind of stuff. And you have somebody that's really good. That's great. The other thing is for upper management, think twice before you take your top salesperson and make him a sales manager. He may be a really good sales manager. I mean, he may be a really good salesperson, but is he a good sales manager? And how long is it going to take him to get up to steam? So you're losing all of the business that he would bring you while you're training basically a sales manager rookie. So you want to think twice about how you're doing this. what you really want to do is you take a look at the top salespeople and get them into some sort of ad hoc on the side training program if you think you're going to promote them, and make a huge difference. I had a lot of fun writing this book. Brought me back a lot of memories about different things that we did, and the different people that I work with. They're all sorts. You get the type that have now moved on to becoming hedge fund managers. That. But anyway, I had a sales manager early on. I started out as a sales engineer, which is really interesting for someone that has 4 degrees in the humanities, in theater and art and so forth like that. And here I am computer designing, phone systems, and did that. But I had a guy that I worked with, my first sales manager. He just really did not fit the image of the time. He did not fit the Zeroid IBM. You know, he wore very, very expensive suits. He was very well tailored. Okay. But he wore his hair in an afro. Okay. This is a white guy wearing his hair in an afro, in a southern town. And, he was very, very street smart, and he knew something about the product, but when it came down to that, he relied on me as his engineer. And he liked to drink his lunch, and he'd take me to places where you'd get 2-for-1 vodka tonics, for lunch. And we'd do things like that. He was just sort of a really weird guy. He belonged to a camera club of a bunch of guys that would hire nude models on weekends to photograph them, if you can imagine that. Yeah. Does this fit the Zeroid type of business type of guy that you would think of?
Oh
Not
my
really.
gosh.
But he was very, very street smart. And we were out drinking our lunch one time, and he says to me, he says, Doc, he says, why do you think it is that 20% of our salespeople are doing 80% of the business? It's kind of a national statistic anyway. And I said, well, I can tell by the work that they put into it. He says, I'll tell you why. He says, because the cats in the know ain't busting day hump. There it
Oh,
was, all in that simple statement. And it was absolutely right. That if you're in the top of your business, you're working at it. Okay. You're committed to it. So you're a cat in the know. And I never forgot that. And I used it in my sales training things, and it would always get a laugh, but I'd remind them, think about it. Think before you speak, but think about this. You really want to know your stuff. The person that was always on top, not only did he know his product inside and backwards, all right, but he knew how to use it, and he knew how to specifically sell it given the application and the individual he was talking to. And he knew his competition cold, generally better than the competition did.
mm.
And he got to know his customer, his prospect, pretty well by examining the business and really coming to know it so he could talk intelligently about it. So it's not something simple where you walk in and you say, yo, Doug, you want to buy this? There's a finesse to it. There's a series to it. And people say, his question here is that people say, are salespeople born or are they made? It's a combination of the two. You have to have some ability, an innate ability to communicate and connect, but then you also have to know, what it is that you've got that's going to make a difference. If you got to see an organization that's really starting to grow, then you want to provide them with a solution that gives them an elegant opportunity to get bigger as his company goes. He'll appreciate it in the future, even though you're still charging him for it. So that's it. I mean, I'm kind of flipping through the course. Let me see. Oh yeah, I did this. I want to get this out here because all of my education. What a piece of work is a man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. Let's see if you've been to college. Do you know where that's from?
I did not go to college.
Oh,
I went a little bit to college, but I studied theater and performing
you
arts
studied theater. Where did you study theater?
at Broward Community College.
Broward Community College. See,
Yeah,
I
now it's
got
called Broward College.
I got a degree in theater, and another one in art from the State University of New York in Plattsburgh. And then I got a MFA in play direction and an MA in performing arts management from the Hilberry Repertory Theater at Wayne State. So
Mm.
that's where I started myself out. Anyway, that's from Hamlet. That's Act Two, Scene Two. So I did it my way for modern terms. Here it is. What a piece of work is a salesperson to work with people who many times defy reason when having to master infinite skills and labors, including to think, act, speak, dance, and all over perform, all well while endeavoring to present a form and image delightful, pleasing, and acceptable to the potential customer. Yes, an angel, a god, a conundrum. That's from the Tao of Sales, Chapter 2, my book. How about that?
Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and Instagram. Thank you for watching.
That sounds cool. Yeah, no, I
So,
studied opera and I studied entertainment, plays and stuff, acting for the stage, acting for TV. I did a little bit of entertainment law, but I didn't get too far before I got pregnant and then I got sick. And then I had to drop
oh,
out. Yeah.
oh, how's the child?
Oh, he's 31, 32, 32. Oh my gosh.
My God, woman, you don't look that old.
He's 30, 32. He'll be 33 this year.
My goodness.
He's got three children. And my daughter's 21 and no kids. She's still home, you know. And I'm 51.
Really, you don't look it at all. You
Thank
don't look it at
you.
all.
I am 51. Yeah, I'm a grandmama.
Really?
Yes, three
Uh,
times.
this is where you get to look at my face on the screen and say, well, you don't look 74.
Actually, you don't.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And there are times, I don't know, lately, because I've been basically supine for the last 4 weeks, I keep on thinking, I can't believe I'm 74, you
Yeah, you
know?
get to that age where you're like, really? What?
By this, oh my goodness gracious, I remember people when I was as young as I feel that I am that look 74 and they look old.
Yeah, don't they? Oh my gosh. Like 51, I'm supposed to look like a hag by now.
Oh no. Times have changed,
They
and
have.
so has sales. I mean, that's the thing
Yes,
about it.
sales. And your book, in that book, what can people expect to learn? Because I truly love books that teach something.
Well, the first thing I say is here is, look at what resonates. You can put a lot of time into going through something, and if it doesn't resonate with you, you're wasting your time. So there's a whole bunch of techniques and so forth in sales that are developed on a regular basis, thanks to new technology and so forth. But what resonates with you? Okay. Do you have a customer in there that's a real digital head? Are you prepared to go in there and talk to him in high tech speak? Is he somebody else that's not going to make sense? You're just going to be wasting your time. So you've got to make those decisions. But the problem with sales, as it was several years ago, is that less than 50%. I did a bunch of research on this too, because you can't go into something like this and without knowing what's going on. And let me see here. It says how to use this book. The very beginning of my book, remember our conversation? We learned by questioning. Kids,
Yeah.
little kids are great salespeople. And the other thing is simple. That is a great start. Is simple. Via the Dalai Lama, we learned that the Buddhist philosophy is about questioning everything. Siddhartha supposedly told his disciples to question everything, even what he taught them. The Socratic method is questioning. Okay. Christ advised his disciples to do the same. I should say the Christ. Christ was not his last name. The Christ advised his disciples to do the same. Even the Pope guy, Francis, admonishes the faithful not to fear questioning. So, and then there's also Occam's razor, which is why I called it Tao of Sales. Occam's razor. In any given situation, it's going to be the simplest solution. That's the correct one. Keep it simple. You know, the simplest solution is what's going to do it. But when you look on Sales Professional Index in the book here, 64% of salespeople fail because they have the wrong job. Okay. Sales is something that you do not walk into. In the country, 12 something percent of jobs in this country are sales jobs, and over $1 trillion are spent annually on sales forces. 55% of salespeople should be doing something else. I've got a whole list of these things that kind of like does not paint a really pretty picture of sales as a profession, but it tells you what to do at. 50 what high performers are 25% better at qualifying. So of salespeople, 17% win less than 25%, 37% win less than 50%, and 4% only win more than 50%. So when you look out there, sometimes when you hear somebody complaining about the salesperson that he's dealing with, give him some credit. It might be true. But, when he comes back and says this guy was really great, question him, find out why he's saying that, then go see that guy. All right. Because one of the best ways that a salesperson has of creating more business is through the business he's already created, referrals. You know, my late wife worked in the funeral industry, and she sold things called an at need. Have you ever heard of an at need?
You're
And
at to get something when you die.
now, an at need is the best gift you can give your family because everything is taken care of. Excuse me, an at need is when they show up. Excuse me, a basically pre-plan is when you purchase everything and make all your arrangement up front.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You're
Yeah, I
gonna go ahead
confuse
and
it.
take
I
care of
have
that. Yeah.
my memory's not so good at my advanced age. Pre-need is called a pre-need. And
Okay.
what you do is that's everything. It's paid for, it's done, it's planned. What do you want to serve at the funeral buffet? This, that, where are you going to put them in the ground if you're going to do that? Everything like that. And so, I tell people it's the best gift you can give your family because when you go down, your survivor just makes a phone call. It's done. It's finished. It's paid for. You don't have to go through all of that, and you can address yourself to your grief rather than, the business of putting together the last good party your, loved one is ever going to come to. So she did that, and she was always exempt from cold call nights because she worked with the families that she had, and she always worked with referrals and the families that, I mean, everybody's dying, right? So, we did a good job with Beth. Let's go back and, bury grandma with her. She knows what's going on. So she did extremely well, very, very well with that. In fact, the cemetery she worked for was called Green Lawn. And she did so much business for them, I always insisted that they change the name to Beth Lawn. She didn't like it either. So we went on from there. So
Oh.
anyway, what questions you got for me? I'm kind of hogging a conversation here.
That's okay. A lot of times I do love to listen because I mean, you're saying everything that you have put into this book has been something that has been of experience, love, and statistics. I love the fact that you've taken the time to research the statistics, also to understand that referrals are key. I mean, you can be the best salesperson, but if you're rude, nasty, and obnoxious, but you can get the sale done, no one's going to refer you.
Right.
You're
That's
going to
right.
say you're rude, nasty, and obnoxious, but the only reason I bought it was I knew I needed it.
See, here's the thing when I say about, make it your own, nobody is buying anything from someone they do not recognize as genuine. Okay. And you got to give the other guy credit for spotting a fake
Oh, yeah.
because chances are when you least expect it, that's when they do it. That's when they spot fakes. And that's it. That's over. Pick up your briefcase and leave because you're not going to sell them. Don't
Yeah.
waste your time. Find somebody else to do that. So
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I love it. So, what is the name of the book?
the book is called The Tao of Sales. It's spelled Tao. It's pronounced Tao, not
Mm-hmm.
Tao. Tao of
And
Sales.
why did you name it that?
It's a basically it's an Oriental philosophy based on sympathy. I mean, on simplicity. Excuse me, rented lips. Based on simplicity. And if you keep it simple, it'll be right in front of you. The more you complicate things, the more you reduce your chances. Okay. I always say that too. The more people you have involved in the sales process, the more opportunity you have for failure because you always get too many people in there, too many, and so forth.
Yeah.
And we did years ago when I was starting out, I was doing business prospecting on a law firm,
Mm-hmm.
and they had like about 10, 12 different law partners or whatever you want to call them, lawyers and everything. and we gave them a proposal, a projection of what we were going to do, and what was going to happen, and so forth like that. And they gave it back to me with 12 different you know, they had all written on it. They had all written all their changes and everything on it. None of it matched, and I had to go back in there and say it, guys. I almost wanted to say, are you guys smoking dope or what here? This is not realistic. You guys need to talk amongst yourselves about what you want. So I had to put together a little program for things that were interesting to them and get them to vote on them. And anyway, we finally made the business. But it was so interesting that all of these different hand scripts had come up, handwriting had shown up, and it was all from the different ones. Well, we don't like this, and blah 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 blah. It's just, hey, geez, you guys really need what I got, and you didn't want to do that. So, and it would come down to simple things. We did a retirement home, even though we the more expensive solution, because we told them that they could double up on their emergency call system. They said, "What do you mean?" Well, we can set it up that all your retiree has to do is flip the phone off of the hook. And when that phone goes off of the hook, the computer will call the operator or a designated emergency session and give them the number and indicate that this is a problem. This is an emergency. There it is. It's right there with everything you're going to get. Done deal. He signed the contract for me that day. It was just a great piece of business to do.
Wow.
And it was just because you think, what does the product do? What does, and
Right.
do all that.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
within that, I don't want to turn people off to sales, but I want to turn them off to sales if it's not for them, and they need to come to a conclusion as to why and how. So I put together a little spreadsheet program that's in the book for people to follow. You know, First off, you want to do an inventory of all of your monthly expenses. All right. What does it cost me to keep my head above water every month? And then what do I want to have above that? So you include everything in there, college funds, rent, power, whatever it is, you do that. So now you know what you need to have. And then you find out, okay, I'm looking at the sales job and what is my commission? Well, all right, let's say that my commission is 10%. Okay. What's the average product that I'm going to sell? Well, let's say that the average product that you're going to sell is 200,000. So you're going to make 20,000 on that. Fine, that's good. Now, how many opportunities to sell systems that big are out there that you have a shot at? How big is your marketplace? You don't want to take a job for a nice commission knowing that it is a niche market. It's nothing, it's very, very small, or it's been rode over, or it's been out tech, excuse me, and do that. So you want to add that in. Then you want to look at how long does it take you to sell one of them? Does it take you a week? Does it take you a month? I mean, in capital sales, you were looking at opportunities that would take you over a year to bring to closure, you know. So you want to look at that, add that in. How long am I going to have to make that? So let's say that my goal is, I want to make 2 sales a month. That's $40,000 a month. That's pretty good money, right? But how am I going to do that? Do I have opportunities out there? If you look at the prospects you have out there, out of the opportunities, maybe 1 out of 10 would be viable. Okay. You've got to be really hard on yourself when you look at this. So you figure out, all right, how long is it going to take me to sell this? How much am I going to make from it? How many opportunities do I have to sell it? And when I add it all up, where am I at the bottom? Am I where I need to be? Am I where I want to be? And if I'm not, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
Well, you need to do a lot of homework, but the other thing is you may need to say, no, I don't want this job. Don't let yourself in for failure. So when you round that corner, failure is sure going to find you. That's for sure. You know.
Hmm. Wow.
And so you figured it out. See, in our business, we figured out that everybody, businesses needed a new phone system given technology and growth every 5 years. Okay, so you start looking at it and going like, all right, well, wait a minute, 20% of everybody out there is a prospect. How many are out there? Well, let me see. Have I got 20 viable prospects or have I got, a couple of thousand? Where do you want to go for your opportunities? So forth like that. Anyway, I had a great opportunity to travel and all. I've been to Alaska, I've been to Puerto Rico, some fine people in Puerto Rico. First time I showed up at Puerto Rico, they picked me up in a limo. I'm
Wow.
going, hey, look, I'm a schmuck, okay? I'm just here to get you started. Here's the manual. Read that and do that. And we had, goodness gracious, we had a lot of fun. Went to a lot of different places, met some very, very good people, very, very good people. And Alaskans were great. You ever been there?
I haven't yet. No.
I tell people you need to treat yourself because after about an hour of being there, you're going to get tired of having your breath taken away.
Hmm.
It's just, really something. It's just amazing. You get in the evening. That's when the flights arrive because it's at the end of our time zones, right? And you leave first thing in the morning. And I'm leaving my hotel, taking a cab to the airport about what 6:30 in the morning, and we're going down what passes for a 4 lane in Anchorage, and everybody stopped. And I'm like, what the heck is this? It can't be a traffic jam in Anchorage. My God. And the driver says to me, he says, no, they all stopped to look at the moose. There was a pair of moose in the divider, in the divider of the highway in the middle of town. Welcome to Alaska. You
Wow.
know,
But that must be
uh,
nice, though.
pardon me?
Must be nice. You can just stop and look at the moose.
Oh yeah, yeah. You met some neat people there too. We were in a meeting with the bank, and it was a big, important meeting. And all of a sudden, the vice president that I was there with at the company, my distributor, gets a phone call, and he just rapidly excuses himself, and he says he's got to go. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? We're in the middle of this. You can't do that. But he does. Comes back, come to find out, he and his fiance owned like a hunting lodge outside of Anchorage. They brought in people and so forth like that. And she called, she was all upset. A moose had decided to take on a guest's car. He saw his reflection in the car, and it was rut season, and he went after it like crazy. And with those antlers and everything, he was ripping this renter car to pieces. They got back, and anyway, as he was getting in there, his fiance came out with a shotgun and blew off a couple of rounds, and the moose just scampered off. But he didn't realize he scampered off around the lodge to where the hunting dogs were kept in a cyclone fence. And he went after the hunting dogs trying to get through the cyclone fence and everything like that. And I said to him, I says, Jimmy, I says, what the hell happened? He says, well, I finally chased the moose away. He said, but I got a problem now. I said, what's that? The dogs won't come out of the doghouse anymore.
They too scared to come out.
Some of the joys of my traveling and everything. But I had a rare opportunity, and maybe I decided too late in life to capitalize on it, but to see all of those and experience, such divergent sales processes and sales programs and sales organizations. I mean, there were some out there that you wouldn't give a plug nickel for. Others, you couldn't come up with enough money to hire these guys. And there was the thing that you come up with, like, how do you learn the most about sales? Well, the simple thing is you want to hang out with the guys that are really good, but you can learn as much from the guys that aren't very good because watch them. Don't do what they do, and it sounds silly, but it's true. I mean, there are some people that have a great personality, but couldn't sell, seal meat to an Eskimo, for crying out loud. And they have just a great personality, and people will flock to them, and they're not learning anything. They're getting bad habits and so forth.
Yeah.
You think about what makes the most sense. You are cordial, you are polite, you are on time, you are respectful, all the things that the Christ said you should be. And see what kind of difference that gets you. So
Wow. Well, we're
anyway,
talking about the Tao, right? The Tao of
The
Sales.
Tao of Sales. Yes.
Tao of Sales. I
Tao
want
of
to read it.
Sales. You can get this book. By
That's
God,
right.
you can call Amazon. It's right there on Amazon with some lovely reviews that I did not pay for. And do that. And it's a good read because I wrote it the way I talk. You can probably figure that out by now. Okay. And let me see here. Oh, yeah. Here's another one, too, Making It Yours. I started out, I was a guy that came to us from the factory before I first started working for them. Guy was amazing. To deliver a presentation without ever once looking at the slides. Really knew his stuff. He was energetic. He had a lot going on. He had good stories. He made sense and everything. And I really liked him a lot. And I went back and I thought about, like, what does he do that I do? And how can I make that mine? And did that. Well, other guys didn't spend the time doing that. And they went out and tried to do this guy. They tried to imitate this guy. And they all fell flat on their faces. That's why I say you make it yours, and be yourself, you know.
Right.
If you're
That's
the
right.
if you're the right person, then it's going to work. If you're not the right person being yourself, then you can probably get a good job selling shoes at Florsheim or something, like that. But go where you work for. Do what you do here. All righty.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I truly appreciate it, John. And I appreciate what you've done and how much work you've put into the book and how much people can get out of the book. That's going to be the key.
That's the thing. What you get out of it, what you put into it. In other words, that's what I'm saying. Read the book. If it resonates, then make it yours. Okay. But remember some basic things. You're not going into battle. You're not playing a volleyball game. Okay. You're there to understand your prospects' needs and wants. So you want to be a very, very good listener. Take notes. The other thing that we would do with the sales teams before we went out on a big meeting, we would basically sit around and throw things back and forth. Well, what do you think they're going to ask? What do you think that they want to know? What about this guy? What should we stay away from here? What should we hammer there? So we had an ad hoc rehearsal before we went into our meetings. And those always served us very, very well because we knew what we were doing. We were there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are we out of time or what?
Yes, we actually are, and it's so unfortunate because I love to hear your stories and everything that you have to offer. But people can also get that from the Tao of Sales.
They can get that from my book. They can get it from the website, the Tao of Sales, that Tranquility Press put up for me. And go to Amazon. You can
Yes,
see it there, or basically just Google it, and you can find it there. Where would we be
definitely.
without Google?
Hey, I mean, when Google came in, I was like, yeah, I like this. I like this. I'm going to put that link in the description box, though, so people can actually get that easier than just having to Google it. So it will be there in the
Very
information.
good. Yes.
So that
Thank
way
you.
people
Thank
can
you.
actually access that really good. I want to thank you so much for being on the show, John. I appreciate it so much. And
Thank
speaking
you.
with you made this whole, I mean, we've been here almost an hour.
Oh my God, I thought it was 5:13. Holy smoke. I'm sorry. I thought it was a half an hour. Oh my goodness gracious.
No,
Thank
don't
you.
worry about it. Don't
You
worry
have
about
a
it.
you
I've
have
had
a
a
you have,
good time.
you have a blessed day, my darling. Thank
All
you.
right, you do the same. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. But most of all, don't forget if you think you need to be a salesperson or better salesperson, or you're thinking about going into sales, go ahead and get this book. It's going to serve you right. Definitely going to be there for you when you need it. And again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And don't forget to dare to be different. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Yaya. Bye-bye.